Right, what have I got here? Right, a quick one today, although I always say a quick one, and then 16 hours later the video is finished. So let's move on with this. So it's from Fireflies today. If you remember, in fact, I'll go and grab it. I did a review of, it was the, what the hell was it? The E07 of Fireflies, and I was very impressed with this. I didn't like the price, I thought it was too high, but bearing in mind what you're getting in such a small package, it's pretty damn good actually. And I love the UI, and I love the auxiliary LEDs, which are these small ones in between the main emitters. I really like this light, and I still carry it now. The only problem, if you remember, I did point out in the write-up, is the mismatch between the tube colour here and the body colour. See, it's slightly off, but apart from that, I mean, it's not the end of the world. But this one is the Fireflies PL47. Now it's the Gen 2, so you're probably thinking, Gen 2, well, what was wrong with the Gen 1? Not really a lot. I mean, from what I know, and I have limited knowledge of this, because I always say this, I'm not an expert and never claim to be, but I believe to be the case anyway, on the Gen 1, in other words, the initial offering for this light. I think the button was stiff, and there was a few other little things, but it's not, there weren't, you know, killer problems, but they've made little improvements, so it's nice to see that. I like it when they take an idea that works and improve it and refine it. I like that a lot, and I think this is what they've done here. So this is the Gen 2, and I've gone for, just so you know, here's the paperwork details. So there's the SKUD number, and it's the XPL 5000K, but I'll go into that, but I just want to show you what model I'm particularly dealing with here. So let's get into this and let's see what you get. Now the box is pretty light. Now this is a headlamp. Now you're probably thinking, well, normally they can be a bit heavy. Well, they can, and especially if you remember, I did the review of the Astrolux, the HL01. This weighed a ton, and it was like a meat tenderizer for whacking a pork chop. But this is very light. So there's the instructions. Now it's Andúril UI, which is the latest software from Toy Keeper, which is an open source UI, and UI just means user interface. Now, rather than look at this, you can just go to the end of my video and I'll go through this as rapidly as I'm able to anyway, and I'll try and consolidate this into something that makes sense. And also in there, you can see there's a smaller bag, and you can see that they have two washers there. Now the point of those washers is that they go between machined parts. So on this E07 here, you can see there's one there. You've got the machined part, which is the threaded section, and then you can see the O-ring. Now the O-ring, the whole point of the O-ring is that it provides waterproofing, or a level of waterproofing anyway, and this one is IPX8. So rather than bang on about this old one, let's look at what we've got here. So here's the box, and you get two items. Now I'm going to be honest here, I was expecting more items, but I didn't bloody get them, did I? So here's the problem. I have this light to look at. I don't have the magnetic base, which I wanted. I don't have the clip, which I wanted, and I don't have the headband, which I wanted. So this is going to be a limited review, and I must point out that I received this item here that you see right in front of you for free from Banggood. They're good enough to send me this for an honest review, and I will give you an honest review, and I always give an honest review, because there's no point in having a review channel and then lying, because people can tell. People aren't stupid, and most of the people who comment on my channel know a lot more than I do, and they could tell straight away. So I'm going to give this an honest review, but I do like to point that out, and I always do if I receive something for review purposes. So you're probably thinking, what on earth's this? You know, it looks like something James Bond might stick in his back pocket. Well, it's not. This allows you to use a different type of cell, but we'll quickly look at this first. So here's the item itself. Now I will admit, when I first saw this in the forums, my initial response was, that is fugly. Okay, I've come to love it though. Just you know, in the same way that some things in life can be a little bit ugly, they turn out to be rather nice. You could say, you know, a bit like truffles. They look bloody awful, but they taste wonderful. And I think this is what's happened here. And I appreciate the fact they've done something differently. And what they've done is they have changed the. I mean, it's a 90-degree light, obviously, like a lot of the others. I mean, there's the one from Convoy, the H1, and you've got the old stalwart from Olight, which I'll take out here, the Nova, the H2 or Nova, and they're all 90-degree lights, which means you can use a clip and clip them to molly webbing and things like that and get on with jobs. And with a magnetic base, you can put it under the hood of a car and things like that. Very, very handy lights to have, 90-degree lights. I really like them. And obviously you can stick it on your head and they work perfectly. Now, what they've chosen to do here is they've chosen to shorten the length, and it's almost as if by shortening the length, what they've been able to do is push this out a bit. Now, you probably think, whoa, hang on, does that make that top heavy? No, it doesn't, because I've done preliminary testing, walking and running about at night along the coast there in high winds, and there wasn't any issues. But I can't be 100% on that because I'm using my own headband, because as you know, I've got a lot of headlamps, and here's just a selection of them in this spaghetti mess here. So I used various connectors that I could in order to use this as a headlamp, and I didn't have any problems. It's very light. You know, it is really light. It's probably a little bit lighter than the Olight. It's certainly lighter than the Astrolux. It's probably about half the weight of this, but look, the length's fantastic. So it's very light, and even though it's so small, and I just want to show you that. So if I look at, for example, the Olight here, so we'll put it alongside. Now look at the length of that. Now that's an 18650, so you're probably thinking, well, they've moved that up there and it's still an 18650. No, here's the good news. It gets better. So there's your 18650, which would be in that one there. You can use it with an 18650, but it also fits the much larger 21700 batteries. Now, for my testing, all my testing on this, I used a Samsung 40T. I think it gives a good bang for buck. You can get higher amperage ones, but not necessary on this light. And you can also get less amps and more storage capacity, but I think this is more than enough. This is a good bang for buck battery. And just so you know, there's the specs of it. It's obviously 3.7, 21700 lithium ion. It'll do 30 amps, and it is around 4000 milliamp hours in capacity, which is good compared to sort of 30ish on a 30Q by Samsung. That's just a different wrap on there by ODB, so you can ignore that. So I just want to show you it's actually able to fit this in. So we'll get this open, and as you can see, there's the O-ring. Now that just improves waterproofing. Now this is an IPX8, so IPX8 means you can bang that into 2 meters of water. So you've got 2 meters of water on top of that, pushing down, trying to get in, and it will remain waterproof. It's not water resistant, it's waterproof, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm led to believe that this section doesn't allow water ingress either. So I've got no problems with that. You're protected against dust, and you're protected against water. I've got no problems with that. One of the problems you get with a lot of these cheaper ones, now this is the Sofern 40, which I like it, even though it's getting a bit bashed up now. Nice wide beam, beautiful thing, and very cheap. But you see it has these daft flaps. Now, you know, some people say, oh, stop complaining, it keeps the rain out. It does, but if you drop that in a river, and I have dropped lights in puddles and rivers when I've been camping, and you don't want that hanging over your head. You just want to, if that goes in water, you want to be able to pick it up and say, who cares? And I don't care how long it rains, this is going to keep working. Whereas daft flaps tend to slightly reduce the IPX rating. IPX just stands for ingress protection. In other words, can things get in, so dust or water. And in this case, IPX8, so no problems there. So we'll open this up and I'll show you. Let's see what it looks like. So there's the spring, pretty nice, and there's the FF for Fireflies. Actually, that's a very solid spring. Even though it looks like someone sat on it, it's almost as flat as a pancake, that one. Okay, but fair enough if it works. And then down here, in fact, can you open this up? Yes, you can. So you can change the central tube. So we'll open that up just so we can have a good look. And there's the head unit, and we'll put that the right way up there. So it says Fireflies at the top there, and again, yeah, very hard spring, nice. So it's not going to, you're not going to get spring sag and things like that. So very nice, painted threads, no issues. I did notice there wasn't really any grease to put on this. There was a tiny little bit, but not a lot. But you don't want too much, because what happens is if you've got too much grease on here, it tends to attract dirt and debris anyway. So let's get it in, and I'll show you how to use a non-standard battery. So obviously this is designed to run on a 21700, which is, I think that's incredible that they've been able to fit a 21700 in such a small form factor, and it makes up for the fact that you have this fugly section sticking out. So that's how you would normally do it, and you would seal it there. But if you want to use an 18650, now obviously an 18650 isn't as long, is it? 18 as in the length, and this is a 21. So how do you make up for that? Well, you use this collar or sleeve, depends what you want to call it. So you can stick it on like that, stick it in, and there you go. It allows you to use it. Now, you tend to get battery rattle because look, the diameter is slightly different. So let's see if this rattles anything when you put that in. I just want to know because I haven't tried an 18650 yet. So let's turn it on. There, so it's on. No battery rattle. Even if I do that rattle a tiny little bit, maybe I can hardly hear it though. So not bad, pretty impressive. Because I know on there was a lot of complaints on this. Apparently the shorter tube, the 18350, wasn't the right size, and it was denting batteries. So that's a bit naughty of Astrolux there. So take that out, and we'll use the proper cell here. So let's talk about specifics here. So we'll zoom in on this section here when I turn it on. So as you can see, you've got auxiliary LEDs there. So this light here, this blue ice light, is the ice colour blue, is not coming from the main emitters. The main emitters aren't on. These are auxiliary lights that stay on all the time. Although through config, you can change that. So you can say, well, I think it's 7 clicks. You can say, I want them on, or I want them off all the time, or I want them flashing. But we'll go over that in the UI section. But I just want to give you a nice close look there. So an interesting TIR setup. You've got 4 emitters there, and then you've got a TIR lens over the top. Now, interestingly, I want to compare this. Here's the Emisar D4. So very similar setup here without the auxiliaries. But you see the way around the emitters, you've got like it's quite smoothed out. Now, it's different on this. You've got like ringed sections. So I'll try and zoom in a bit there. So can you see you've got this ringed section here. I'm not a big fan of that because it leads to a few artifacts, but only up close. But I do want to mention that because it is an issue that I've noticed. I would have preferred to have seen a more smoother, like I think this is Calco make these optics here. It's a UK company, I'm pretty sure, and I prefer this a little more, but it's not the end of the world. But I will show you the flower petaling. Okay, so let's talk about emitters. I've gone for the Cree XPL- high, I think, which is the high intensity. Now I want to go quickly through these because there's quite a lot. So you can go for the SST20s. Now there's 2 options on that. In fact, there's 4 depending on which website you go to. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 2. So I do apologize if there's a difference here, but in general anyway, you've got a neutral white or a cool white. The neutral white on the SST20 is 5000K, and the cool white is up to about 6000K. So not that white. 6500 I presume is more whiter. And on the 5000 you get 2800 lumens with a CRI of 95, and I think the cool white SST20 at 6000 is 4200 lumens, so closer to what I'm getting, but the CRI drops to 66. So I want to quickly go over that. So let's break this down quickly before I go over any emitters, because if people don't know this, I want to quickly explain this. So you've got neutral white and cool white. The difference is very simple. Cool white looks whiter, neutral white looks closer to sunlight. So more neutral. In other words, what you would see on a summer's day. Cool white, conversely, is what you'd see on a winter's day when it's all diffuse and coming through the clouds, and it's whiter, less natural. I mean, you could argue, yeah, well, sunlight technically is white. It is, but on planet Earth, it isn't. It's yellow. So we'll get that out the way. So CRI is the color rendering index, and I normally go over that in quite deep detail, but I won't on this instance. It just means the reproduction of the colors that you're going to get. So for example, a UV light is a very short wavelength, very short. Everything looks purple and it looks bloody awful. Whereas if you were able to expand that and say, right, I want the full gamut of colors, I want to see every range in that, you get a nice beautiful reproduction with no colors missing it and no daft color casts. So the higher the CRI, the more pleasant it is on the eyes, in my opinion. Most people probably won't notice that, but a flashaholic, it's very important. And tints, it's not really that important on this sort of light. You could argue on a thrower and reflectivity on surfaces, you want to avoid a cool white and go for a neutral. I just happen to prefer neutrals, and I've gone for a neutral on this occasion. So with that in mind, the 3 Cree emitters, which are all XPL highs, you can get a neutral white at 5000, you can get a neutral white at 4000, so 4000 is very on the yellowy stage, and then the 5000 is more like sunlight, in my personal opinion. And then you can get the cool white, which goes up to 6000K or 6000 Kelvin, which is just a representation of the color tint. And all 3 of those emitters are at 4500 lumens. That's why I went for the more powerful one. So to sum up anyway, all the Crees are 4500, whereas that drops with the SST20s. Now there are nichier options with high CRI, but again, it depends what website you're on. Some have them, some don't, so I don't want to go into that. We'll leave that for this one. Okay, so 21700 battery. It's a quad emitter, so you've got 4 emitters there. I'll turn it on just to show you. So beautifully, this will go very bright. Now, the only problem I initially noticed was flower petaling. So what you'll see this if I do this and turn. It's very hard to see on camera, but can you see there's patterns? And you can see them moving. Now, the higher the output is and the further away from a flat surface is, the less you can see this. But can you see this? It's hard to, maybe if I turn it up, it might. It's hard to see on camera, but can you see there's a pattern? Now, that you're going to get that with most quad emitters. So, for example, if you remember, and in fact, I'll show you, the good old BLF Q8 is a quad emitter, and you do get flower petaling with that. You can see it. Can you see it? In the extremities here, you have patterns which are moving and like flower petals. Now, that's to be expected because this is very angular, but on a TIR setup, you should be avoiding that. And I think the design of this isn't really helping. There's a bit of flower petaling, whereas you get a lot less flower petaling on something like the D4. It's there, but it's less noticeable. It's smoothed out a lot more, in my personal opinion anyway. So I think they could maybe make some optimizations to this and get rid of these angular bits. I don't know why they would do that. You want it as smooth as possible or as transitioned as possible between the different parts of light in the beam. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion. So let's move on to the ice blue LEDs, which are the auxiliaries. Now, these are on all the time. Now, you're probably thinking, that's great, but is that not going to run the battery down? And yes, it does, because you get, you know, in physics, you don't get energy for nothing, unfortunately. So there is a cost. So it is very handy. And I was out again last night checking this, and I did really enjoy the auxiliaries, because it saves you having to put it on a red light. It's a low mode. It allows you to see your hands and work at night in pitch black without having to turn the main beam on, which is, I really appreciate that. But it does run the battery down. So you're probably going to run the battery down about 100 days on something like a 4,500 to 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So my advice would be to either turn that off when you're not using it, or use the lockout mode. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the lockout mode, it's on, and then it's off for a period of time, and then it comes on again, and then it's off. It's on such a short period of time. What it means is it's not going to run the battery down as much. So you're probably going to get a year's battery out of that at least, or possibly longer. It's one less thing to worry about. I always use an e-lockout anyway, and within that e-lockout mode, you have a low mode you can use anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So again, I apologize, I can't mark the clip which would go on here, and you can clip this to your bag or your molly webbing or pants pocket or anything like that. And I can't mark the magnetic base. A magnetic base just means that you can, if I can find one, this has a magnetic base here. So if I find a knife hanging about, there's one. Okay, so if we, just to give an example, if you've got a magnetic base, it means you can stick it to a metallic surface and it stays there and it allows you to work. So in a car or a garage, not so handy when you're out camping, because, well, there's not many metallic surfaces around, is there? Trees aren't made out of metal, but that's an option. And within that, I want to discuss this. So I'll pull something up on screen. So here, if you go to the Fireflies website now, right? In fact, hang on a minute, I'll open it myself. Right, there you go. Right, so I've opened it now. As you can see here, there's the price, $39 at this moment in time anyway, for the PL47 Gen 2. Fair enough. And then you've got your shipping. Now, emitter type. Now, if you want the bright ones, which is what I've gone for, you're having to pay $10 more. I'm a little bit annoyed about that. They should all be the same price. And then you have your color options. And then if you notice down the bottom, tail cap with magnet, nearly $5. Why does that not come with this? That's annoying. And then you've got, if you go down to pocket clip, why am I being charged for the pocket clip? It's such a small, inexpensive item. It should already be in there. Although, to be fair, I'm having to go at them. The same happened with the D4. I think they charge you for the pocket clip, and it's not even a particularly good one. So I'm annoyed about that. And a headlight band. Why does it not come with a headlight band as standard? It's a headlamp. Where is the headlamp strap? It's pretty basic stuff, I'm sorry. So again, $2 for that. So by the time you've added all the things, you're ending up spending $45–50. So I'm a bit annoyed at that, and I think they should lose points for that. Although there will be people in the comments section who say, oh, shut up, stop whinging, you know, Stop being a cheapskate, and it allows you to customize. It does allow you to customize, but can we all agree that a head torch should come with some way of sticking it on your head? It's pretty basic. Same with a clip. Come on, it's basic stuff. So let's get that out of the way before I get any more angry. Right. Okay, so we've gone over the basics here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a mark and tell you about the pros and cons. Then I'm going to do the UI, because the UI is very lengthy. It goes on and on and on for half an hour, and people get annoyed and send me messages saying, oh, the videos are too long and things like that, because, you know, they've got better things to do, obviously. So I'm going to do it in that order. So let's talk about what I like and what I don't like. Right, it's very bright, as you can see. Bang, 4,500 lumens. The only problem with that is it gets hot. So let's put that down. Well, I'm going to put it down that way because it does get bloody hot. So I'll put it down like that, and I'll take some measurements of temperature. In fact, I'll hold it like that. So let's see what the temperature is at the moment. So it's running now, and the temperature is, so 47, 48. Good God, it's hot. So 52, 53, still going. Now, it hasn't stepped down yet that I've noticed, but when it does step down, it's not a rapid step down. 53, right, it's, I think there, I've just seen it starting to step down. It ramps down rather than steps down. So 53 degrees. So if I try and touch that, that is ridiculously hot. You could fry an egg on that. So let's turn that off. So can you see how quickly that steps down? Yes, at turbo, you're getting a massive burst of light. It doesn't last. It lasts longer when you're outside, I'll be honest. But as you can see, around 53, you can change this in the config, but 53 degrees is a lot. So it's probably a godsend that this section is away from the head, to be honest. So if you are going to use your own headlamp strap, make sure you don't use a floppy rubbish one like this that comes with a convoy. Get something that protects your head, otherwise you're going to end up with you know, sunburn over the head there. So it does get hot, but it is very bright. So in regards to cons, yes, heat's a problem, but you could argue heat's also a problem with the D4 from Emisar. You know, you turn that on, it's extremely bright, but the problem is it gets so hot you end up having to hold it like that, you know, with your pinky finger sticking out like an Englishman drinking tea. So big problem there. Not so much of a problem with this because you're not always holding them, but you can just hold it down the bottom. Already I can feel the heat is migrating down to this section. So this heat sink section, cannot get rid of that heat fast enough, unfortunately. But that's part and parcel of such a high output for such a small package, unfortunately. So it's very bright, 4,500 lumens on this. You're going to get less on the other emitters. Very compact though, look at that. 21,700. Compare that to in fact, let's have a look. Let's look for something purposefully small. So one of my favorites, the HO3 by Skill Hunt. The HO4 is out now, but it's not different enough for me to get one. But look, it's actually smaller than the extremely small and slim already Skill Hunt using an 18650. This is shorter, even though it's using a bigger battery. So longer battery and bigger diameter. But you could argue, well, yeah, but they've put that on there, basically. That's what they've done with electronics speaking. But I think that's an intelligent thing to do, and it makes it more pocketable. Not that this isn't pocketable, but for a 21700 light, that's a 21700 light that can be a little less pocketable in skinny jeans and things like that. Whereas I think this does a fantastic job, even in the hand. I mean, look, yeah, I'm 6'4" and I've got big hands, but I can hand that no problem and hide it. So pretty good. So very compact, very bright. Floody beam, but again, some flower petaling, as you can see. Can you see it? Moving on the extremities here. But again, I'm being picky because I'm a flashaholic, and if you move away, there you can hardly see the flower petaling, only at the very extremities, and outside you're probably not going to see that. I really like the auxiliary LEDs. I was out last night doing some photography, and I found it very useful. I thought, you know what, that actually works very well. It's a very bright auxiliary LED, so it works well on hands-free stuff when you don't want to turn it on. But bear in mind that with that in mind, it's going to draw your battery because it is quite bright, but you can make changes to that in config. Also, Andúril UI, it's ramping UI. Rather than press 20 times, press 90 times, you just turn it on, you ramp it down, and you press and hold and ramp it up. Dead simple, very intuitive. I like that. Instead of on some of them, you know, 87 clicks takes you to this level. Yes, there are complexities on Andúril, but I'll go over that in a second. So cons, extra prices for things that should come as standard. Sorry, I don't agree with that. I think that's a bit naughty. Even though, again, you're going to get people in the comments section saying, you know, I'm an idiot and people should be able to configure the light that they're getting. Yeah, fair enough in regards to LEDs, but not in obvious things that should come with it, in my personal opinion. Cons, you could also say it's pretty fugly. That's exactly when I first saw that. I thought, who the hell designed that, and was he smoking crack? But as I've come to use it and pocket it, and I have carried this for longer than 2 weeks every day, and talking of which, the paint's done a fantastic job. It still hasn't come off. There's a few scuffs on here, as you can see, like discolorations, but that's my problem. Watch, it actually comes off. I think that's from my keys and the keyring. Yeah, you see it comes off. The paint underneath is actually fine, even though it is slightly tarnished. That's me. There's a little bit of paint come off there, you see, and I certainly haven't dropped that, so I don't know what's happening there. But okay, fair enough. And the button is pretty good. But heat is an issue. You're gonna have to deal with this. So if you are going to use it on turbo levels, yeah, you know, you shine like the sun, but like Icarus, you're gonna burn and you're gonna fall into the sea, unfortunately. Another issue is you can't get immediately to turbo. On a lot of lights, you can just double click and go straight to turbo. You can't on this, and I'll show you. Watch. You've got to go in, then double click again to go to turbo. So even if you double click, that's just taking you to as high a ramp as you can get, but to get to full, double click again, it ramps up. So in other words, you can't get to its maximum output immediately. And some people would argue that there's a tactical need for that if you're going to get attacked. Yeah, fair enough. Although, you know, if you shine a flashlight at someone, then what are you going to do? If you're not a fast runner, you're at it. And again, the flower petaling, I'm not very happy with. So I'm going to give this a mark of 10. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. Now, I'm going to justify that by saying all the things that I've whinged about, fugly, extra prices, heat, can't get directly to turbo, and flower petaling, are picky. And I think most people would agree. I'm being picky, but I have to, because I look at these things in depth, and I do genuinely carry them. I've had this 2 weeks every day. You know, people who just open a box and walk out into the back garden and shine it and say, it's fantastic, they're probably going to miss little issues like this. But that's up to them. I'm not complaining about anybody. So, if you don't want to know about Andúril UI and all of its complexities, you can skip straight to the beam shots. But if you do want to know about UI, I'm going to go over that now. So let me have a drink of water, because I'm going to need it. Right, I've had a drink of water, right, because I will need it. So I'm going to try and do this as rapidly as possible, okay? Because trying to learn it from that's a nightmare. You know, you might as well try and learn Chinese of a dictionary, right? So one click is on and off. So one click on, one click off, dead simple. Now within that, you can ramp it down by clicking and holding, and you can also ramp it up to its maximum level. Okay, so pretty simple. Now, what you can also do is, if you didn't want that smooth ramp and you wanted some sort of visual representation of what it's doing and where it is, you can triple click. Now see, there was a little flicker there. You may or may not see that on camera, but now watch, when I ramp it, see, it jumps. You've got visible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got visible jumps there. So that gives you some sort of representation, and you can count in your head and say, right, that's a 50%. That's it. You know, you can work that out. And then to get rid of that, once it's on, obviously like this, 1, 2, 3. And there was a little flicker there. You may not see it, and it's back to smooth ramping. So if I ramp now, it ramps up smoothly and it ramps down smoothly. Okay, so that's your basic functions. You also have turbo. Now, obviously, you need to turn it on. So you turn it on, and then there, bang. So that's 4,500 lumens, extremely bright. Really good if you're trying to push out, because a TRI lens isn't designed to push out, but that's fair enough. And then I'm going to turn it off quickly because it's rapidly heating up. That's already extremely hard to hold. That's very, very hot. But that's just one of the problems you're going to have to deal with, and it will step down due to temperature. If you noticed on mine, I think it was about 53, 54 degrees when it jumps down. But you can change that in the config. Okay, so moving on. So you've got battery check. So that's 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3. Right. So what's it going to do out here? It doesn't do it as a percentage. It does it as a voltage. So if we watch here, so you've got 1, 2, 3. So that's 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 3.9 volts. And as you know, a full battery will be 4.2, and it goes down to, well, it goes as low as you'll allow, but you know 4.2 is maximum, or around there anyway. So that's your battery check. Now within there, you also have different modes. So if we go into that mode, so 1, 2, 3, so we're in battery check. So within there, you have sub modes. So the first one, so is sunset. So you see those rapid flickers there. So what's sunset mode, also known as good night modes? Within an hour, that will ramp itself down and down and down and down and then go off. So that's for people who are scared of the dark and think that a skeleton's going to jump out and throttle them within an inch of their life, or people who are scared of bats or something. I don't really know what the point of that is. Maybe it's for people who can't sleep, but you've got that if you want it. And then a couple of quick presses will take the next one. So that's your beacon mode. So as you can see, you've got a flash, flash, flash. So very handy for positioning purposes if you're doing some sort of nighttime op and you just want to make a position beacon or a rally point, things like that, or you just want to use it to, I don't know, annoy the neighbours. So, but you've got that option there. There are beacon configs, but I'm not going to go into that. I want to try and rapidly move on with this video and keep it relatively short. So the next one is temp check. So you've got 2 clicks. So what's it doing here? Right, so it's going to flash out the temperature. So let's see what it does. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 33 degrees. I presume that's in centigrade anyway. So 33 degrees. So let's check that actually. Let's see what so about right. It says 34 there, but that could be correct anyway. The inside's going to be a slightly different temperature to the heat that's migrated to the outside, so it's probably around correct. And then to come out of that, you just turn it off. So those are your triple click modes, and then you have 4 clicks, which is lockout. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's lockout? I mean, you can physically lock these out by slightly unscrewing that, and it means it's not going to go off in your pocket, because there's no worse with a high temperature, high output light like this, when it goes on in your jeans and you're trying to drive and you think, my God, what's happening here? I feel like I've got molten lava in my pocket, and you don't know what's going on. It's because this has gone off by accident. And also you can put this away in bags without knowing, and the button gets knocked, and when you get to camp, right, you've now got no form of illumination because it's used it all up on the journey. So electronic lockout means that it is going to stop normal functioning of the light. In other words, it's not going to work, but it does have a little set of extras within that. So you can't use it, but so you can see it won't function. But within that, if you press and hold, I'll show you with my hand. If you press and hold, you have a very little a bit of light that comes out. You can also double press as well like that, and you get even more. So I really like that. It means you don't have to unlock the light if it is locked, but it allows you to give you a little bit of light to get work done by. Now you could argue that the auxiliary lights would do that anyway, but they're not. They've got a flash to represent the fact that it's locked. So in order to show you that it's locked, there it flashes on, and then it's off for a period of time, then it's on very quickly and then off again. Now I really like e-lockout. It just means it's not going to burn a hole in my pocket, and if I do need a little bit of light, I can just click and hold and find keys and things like that. And if I want a little bit more, press twice and you get more. So that's your quad click. Now you can change within this. So if you triple click whilst you're in the lockout mode, so you can see I'm in lockout mode. So 1, 2, 3. If you look at the behavior of the auxiliary LED, so there's no flash, which I don't like because I want to know that it's locked out. And then 1, 2, 3, you've got auxiliary lights on all the damn time. Now the problem with that is you don't know that's locked out just by looking at it, and it's going to rapidly run the battery down after about 150-ish days. It depends on what capacity cell you're using. So I don't like that option. 1, 2, 3. I prefer it to flash to tell me that it's locked, and there's a little bit there, and because it's locked out, I can use that if I need to anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it's out of lock mode. Okay. So moving on, you also have 5 clicks, which takes you to momentary mode, which is sometimes known as a tactical mode, basically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, little flicker there. So if you press it on, it's on or off. That's it. That's your only options. It's either on or it isn't. Now within that, obviously it depends on what ramp you change to, but it's on or it's off. That's all you get. Now there's also a muggle mode. Now I'll just disengage to turn that off though. So I'll disengage the circuit there and then put it back on. So 6 clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gives you muggle mode. Now, as you know, muggles are non-magic users in the Harry Potter universe. In other words, people not in the know. So in other words, a non-flashaholic. So if I was going to hand this to someone who was a muggle it means that they're not going to be panicking going, oh my god, 27 clicks is what again? Ooh, I don't know what I'm doing. It limits the features. So let's see how those are limited. So let's turn it on. So it looks normal. You can turn it on and off. You can still ramp it, but you can't ramp it as much. It won't ramp as high and it won't ramp as low. See, that won't ramp all the way down and it won't ramp all the way up. So it's limiting the high end, it's limiting the low end, and it turns on and off. That's it. Very handy for a muggle. If I was going to hand this to someone, I would probably put it in that mode. To take it off again is another 6 clicks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bang. So let's just check. So you see that ramps much higher, extremely bright, and it will ramp much lower there, down to almost nothing. So you can tell muggle mode's off. Okay. So you've also got 7 clicks in Andúril UI, or the current version anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that's the backlight mode. So again, we went over that in the locked mode. You can triple click to get to that, but this is just a quick way to get to it. So you've got like a flash there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 off, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on all the time. So there's your options. And obviously, if I lock that out, it goes back to whatever setting I've picked for the lockout. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. So 7 clicks is your auxiliaries changes. Okay, so you also have, now they're your main modes anyway, so I'm trying to do this all from memory, so I really do apologize if I've missed anything out, and I probably have. I've got this niggling feeling in the back of my head that I've missed something, but I should study this one day, but I can't be bothered. Right, okay, so you also have click, click, hold, I think, or you used to. So click, click, hold, and then what's that mode there? You see how it flickers, and it changes in intensity. So you get rapid changes in intensity, and there's flickers there. That's candle mode. Now within candle mode, it's supposed to mimic a candle, you know, like the spluttering light on a candle. Now within that mode, you can change intensity. So you can click and hold to increase it. If you want to pretend you had a candle the size of your body, or you worked in a church or something, and then you can get it right up, and then click and hold and reduce intensity, so closer to a candle. You can't really see the flicker very well. There, you can there. Oh, it's pretty sort of intermittent. Okay, so that's your candle mode. Now you also have other modes. So to get the next mode is a double click. So double click. So there's your bike mode. Now bike mode is designed to make people see you, basically. So yes, you've got your beam, but within that you have a flicker. Now that flicker is to draw attention to yourself. In other words, keep you safe so people aren't knocking you off your bike. So pretty nice. And within that, obviously, you can click and hold to increase intensity, or click and go down in intensity there. So that's very low intensity there. You probably wouldn't use that on a bike. You would take that up a little bit higher. So a nice option to have. I'm not sure how you would stick that on your handlebars, but that's nice to have. Okay, so you have another mode, which is, I think it's party mode. I presume, if you bear with me a few seconds. So party mode is another 2 clicks. So this takes it to the next one there, party mode. Now it's basically a strobe. Now you can change the frequency of this strobe. So I'm covering this up because I don't want to annoy people with sensitivity to strobes, and it's also annoying to watch on a large screen in the dark. So as you can see, that's running at a specific frequency there. So if I click and hold, see how it changes? So it gets faster and faster and faster. So that's pretty rapid there. You can hardly see it. And then if I click and hold, we'll change it, get slower, 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 slower. So that's a very slow strobe there, you see? And then click and hold to change the frequency higher, 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 faster, faster. So a rapid strobe there. Now that's party mode. Now basically it's called party mode because it's not maximum brightness. There is a tactical strobe. So if we go to the next one, there, that's maximum brightness. So I will cover that. That's maximum brightness with the strobe effect. And again, you can change the frequency. So you can click and hold to make it more rapid, faster, faster. So you can hardly see it. And then click and hold, lower, slower, 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 very slow, down to a very slow strobe there. I'll just show you briefly there. So we'll turn that off. And then I think you also have light storm. So another couple of clicks, right? This is light storm mode. So it's basically designed to emulate a lightning storm. So it does, you've got nothing, and then all of a sudden, flash, 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 a rapid increase in intensity with an intermittent light, and then off. So if you're doing a Halloween party, or maybe as if you were a vampire, you would like that. But you've got that option if you wanted to turn that off. Right, I've gone to the UI and I've tried to keep this as succinct and short as possible. So enough of me waffling. And as you know, I give this 8 out of 10. I really like it. I think they've done a good job. I like the fact that it's small form factor with a large battery. I really like that, and yes, it's fugly, but I'm personally happy to deal with that. I'll put up with people laughing at me to get a nice light like that. Okay, so enough of me waffling. Let's get outside and look at some beam shots so you can see what it actually looks like in real life.